Welcome, everybody. The Cosmos DeFi crypto stream starts now. We're going to cover all kinds of things. It was a busy week in the crypto world. We're going to keep your bags covered, most importantly. Nice to see some people in the chat. Welcome. Happy Monday. Super Bowl Monday, to be exact. I'm going to get myself organized over here, and we're going to start. It was a busy week last week, and I'm going to recap all of it. On this stream, we cover all things related to crypto, whether it be AI, traditional markets, Bitcoin, NFTs, DeFi, all that. Even some kind of segment we started last week to keep track of some venture capitalist activity that's happening related to crypto. It's significant. We're going to bring in Swiss from Crypto Chem in a little bit to talk about that. Got some AI tunes going, of course. But if it's your first time here, I'm Cosmos Joe, aka Cosmos DeFi on Twitter and YouTube. Welcome to all the new people. Welcome back to all the returning customers. And if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, I should say, why don't you join us? Join the chat. It's hard to watch this on Twitter. You can't scroll. You can't listen sometimes. But yeah, come to YouTube. It's fun. If you're on Twitter, share it. Makes me happy. Makes me feel good when there's a lot of people in the chat. But today's headline, Bitcoin will have DeFi. And we're going to talk about the primitives that are emerging on Bitcoin. Most people are ignoring it, I would imagine, but not me. We'll also talk about Ethereum, this new 404 token standard a little bit. We'll talk about Cosmos. Got a massive airdrop. If you're in Cosmos, absolutely massive airdrop. We're going to talk about crypto crime, trends in the crypto crime area. I already mentioned we'll have Swiss coming in to talk about VC active inflows, and I got some DeFi data to share. We're going to talk about Cardano a little bit. Man, I love this music. But this show, not financial advice. I'm just condensing and recapping some news. My sources are not vetted. I just pull headlines that I like. Know your own risk tolerance. Don't do what I do. Although I do talk about my portfolio pretty transparently. We'll hit that. But if you're watching, welcome. Happy to have you. Why don't you like, share, subscribe? We all say the same thing, YouTubers. And hopefully you guys are not too hungover from the Super Bowl. Probably mostly an American crowd. Hopefully you watched that game. It was a good game. I'm not a fan of either team. I like them both. Man, the only thing that could have been better would be if I had off work today, but I did not. Tomorrow I do. So we're going to get started right now. Just want a quick shout out my sponsors. Shade Protocol sponsors this channel, as well as Kinetics Finance. Shade Protocol is the DeFi suite that's privacy preserving on the Secret Network. They are the ones who designed the Silk stablecoin. They have a front-running resistant DEX. We'll talk about privacy a little bit today. And then there's Kinetics. They just launched their V2 Perps platform on Kava, right? I've got some news related to them. I'll have it linked down below. Got all my links down below, my sources down below. I'll keep the sponsors and the VC activity up top. And the way we always start this is we talk about prices, although we're not going to talk too much about prices today. We got some price activity. I always like to go over the top movers for the week. I like to look at things on kind of a longer time frame. We got this Beam token up almost 70%. And by the way, this is only the top 100 on CoinGecko. Beam, they are up almost 70% the last 7 days. That's, not too bad for a top 100 token. We got Caspa. We've talked about Caspa on the show before, up 45%. They did peel back quite a bit after their last run up, peeling back, but now up almost 50% for the week. And then there's Stacks, one of my favorites, in third place here. Let's see if I can get the rankings in. Might be useful. There you go. Got the rankings in there. You can see Stacks is number 37. We're going to talk about Stacks a little bit today. Curious in the chat if you're stacking Stacks. What I find extremely interesting is look at number 4, Ordi. Ordi is a BRC20 token. We'll talk about those today. And then we got Bonk, which is a meme coin, up 30%, cracking the top 100 again. But yeah, top three here: Beam, Caspa, Stacks. I don't know what Beam is. Rank number 59. Maybe I should know what it is, but let's go to the losers. The losers are fun too. Let's hopefully not have any in my portfolio. Here I have Stacks, so I'm pretty happy about that. And Dymension. They are they're listed as a loser, but they haven't been around 7 days yet. I do have Dymension. Do not have Monero. Monero was delisted. We'll talk about that. And then this WeMix token. Don't know what it is. What is that? Like some kind of audio project, music NFTs, maybe. Don't know. But yeah, WeMix. These are your top three losers, but not too bad. Almost nothing's down. Bitcoin's rip roaring Bitcoin. If you watch this channel, if you follow me on Twitter, I obviously I'm into altcoins, but I'm a huge Bitcoin bull. I've been a Bitcoin bull, especially since Bitcoin cracked that 31.5 mark. I consider 31.5 to be like the make or break for Bitcoin. Once it comfortably surged past 31.5, I was all in. I'm loving it. I have Stacks, which is doing great. Got some BRC 20s, got some ordinals, and yeah, we will talk about that. As far as my portfolio, I did add a couple of things this week. If you notice, I'm just making small buys. I added Decentral. It's only available on a couple of dexes, Osmosis and Astrovault. It's the DEC token. I added a little bit, and I added some Doge. I'm in Doge inscriptions like you wouldn't believe, so I had to buy some Doge to get over there, and that's what I did. I went on a shopping spree. So I like Bitcoin. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I love the inscriptions. I like the fact that we'll be able to do things with our Bitcoin, and that's going to be the focus today. The educational edge here is going to be just Bitcoin. DeFi is building out. It's building out rapidly. All right, let's go to our first story. I'm going to condense this news down for you quite a bit. It was a lot. And we're going to start with just markets. See if I can get this to fit. Sometimes I can't. There we go. So, yeah, this week we got CPI, right? That's when the government tries to convince you that inflation's 2%. And then we have some earnings ahead this week. What's moving markets? Well, I checked today. It seemed like things were a little bit flat. Maybe that's just because of what's happening with the CPI. Yeah, it says little changed on Monday. Stock futures held mostly around line. All right, so not an exciting day for markets, more exciting for crypto. That's okay. And we'll have some inflation data. I don't know why they call CPI. They make CPI and inflation synonymous. I don't think it is. I'm sure someone will gladly argue that with me, but I do not think it's the same thing. I do not think inflation is 2%, 3%. I don't. I think inflation is more like 5 to 10% on any given month. I mean, since I've been, in college, the price of everything has doubled. That's not 2% yearly inflation. I don't think that's what it is. So, yeah, markets, nothing exciting just because we're going to have the CPI data coming out. We got earnings report, right? Coca-Cola is going to have their earnings. Shopify, Kraft Heinz. Used to own Kraft Heinz in my IRA. I do not anymore. Cisco, Coin. That's huge. Coinbase is huge for the crypto markets. I've been buying coin, not much. I wish I bought more since it was like in the 30s. I added more in the 50s and 60s. I added more between 70 and 90. So now it's like the number one position in my IRA. I don't trade stocks. I just position for my IRA. But yeah, coin. I should have bought more, but I say that every time the market's doing good with whatever token is pumping or whatever stock is pumping. So that's traditional markets. And then speaking of traditional markets, MicroStrategy. So Michael Saylor would like you to know that that MicroStrategy is a Bitcoin development company. And he presented his earnings the fourth quarter up until the ETFs. And of course, with the grayscale, the only other exposure, really direct exposure to Bitcoin would be to buy MicroStrategy stock. And MicroStrategy was a software company, long-time software company that started using cash to buy Bitcoin. right? I think their average entry into Bitcoin is probably like in the high 30s. If I had to guess, 36 to 38,000. Not really sure, but yeah, they did just absolutely lay into Bitcoin. They're one of the. I think we checked this back in December on the stream. I don't know if they're a top 10 Bitcoin whale, but they're pretty high up there in terms of single entity owning a large percentage of the Bitcoin supply. Excuse me there. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. Kraken. All right. So Kraken, ETF issuers, other crypto giants, they pass on Superbowl ads. Probably would have been a good Super Bowl to advertise in. You had a lot of young people watching the Super Bowl just because of Taylor Swift, but they passed. And I think 2 years ago was when they really ramped up. I know FTX had some ads and all that. But what ended up happening was they were suing the celebrities who were endorsing these products, right? Larry David, I think Matt Damon. I don't know if he was involved in the lawsuit, but he was definitely in one of the commercials. I don't know if he was in a Coinbase commercial or FTX commercial. But yeah, it says here in 2022, Coinbase spent $14 million on a 60-second ad, and it was just a QR code bouncing around the screen. Probably one of the most memorable commercials, because this wasn't a complete chaos like most of the commercials are. Yeah, no Super Bowl crypto ads despite prices just doing really well. Maybe that's bullish. Maybe there's just no value there. I don't know, but I would have liked to see one crypto ad just because I was watching the game. So yeah, so there's that. So got some distractions here. Sorry, guys. Let's keep it going. Like I said, we'll keep it going. Next story. What do we got? Here we go. Ethereum experiment ERC404. It's a hybrid token generating a ton of volume in trades. This was from February 6th, so 87 million. It's going to be much higher now. And I do have to explore this a little bit further, but yeah, ERC404 is a novel token standard on Ethereum for the most part. For the most part, you have ERC20s, which are the native assets, right? It's like Uniswap token, Aave, Chainlink. Those are your ERC20s. And then you've got the non-fungible, the NFT token, ERC721. There are other token standards, but these are the main ones I would say 99% of people interact with on a daily basis. Last week on the stream, we talked about Solana rolling out their token extensions. Token extensions, to me, they're just kind of flexible token standards. They allow projects to kind of customize their token and also be compliant as far as regulations at the same time. I see any token standard on any network that's different to just be another product on the network. If these tokens represent different products, their goal obviously is to find some product market fit, and Ethereum rolling out this hybrid token, right? It says here, a new experimental token standard dubbed ERC404 seeks to make a hybrid of these two standards. They're talking about NFT ERC721, the NFT token, and the fungible ERC20, right? And it says here, its implementation involved this NFT collection called replicants. It's piqued the interest of traders, resulting in about 87 million in total volume. That was like 6 days ago, so I'm sure that's way higher. You could also trade trade on the on a DEX as well. I'm guessing Uniswap. Users can sell their replicant on popular NFT marketplaces like Blur and OpenSea. So, yeah, there was a craze last week. I was paying somewhat attention to it, didn't get too involved, but like I said, I look at these token standards as great kind of diversification of products on a platform. I'd be weary of any DeFi platform that wasn't offering various token standards. Solana, obviously, way ahead of lots of others, and Ethereum, the granddaddy of volume and liquidity and stablecoins. So Ethereum, Solana, obviously offering some differentiating tokens. I think this is just, this is the way DeFi needs to go. And of course, there was a crash. Like I said, there was a craze last week. There's been a huge dip in price. It's the people who got in early, because these things kind of launch suddenly. It's a big secret unless you're really in the know. And these are probably just people just taking profits, right? When something new like this launches, whether it be inscriptions or certain NFT collections, very few people know about it. The supply is concentrated in very few hands. It has to turn over, and then you'll see some consolidation even after a violent dip. And sometimes, if it's legitimate, you'll see a huge run up as the supply is in new hands. So I think this is normal. Yeah, it's volatile, but this is crypto. You're here for a reason. You're here for volatility, whether you want to admit it or not. You're not a conservative investor if you're buying loads of crypto. All right, so this is I find this a little bit comical because of the source, but yeah, Bitcoin's sudden rebound keeps the 100,000 threshold in reach by year end, Standard Chartered says. And this is all due, the sentiment is due to the ETF flows, right? The Grayscale there was some selling from FTX, the Grayscale Trust, and that has slowed down significantly. Even last week it was starting to slow down when we did our stream. It says, after failing to meet market hopes in January, Bitcoin has surged sharply to its highest level in 2024. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Bitcoin was, it was volatile, but it was more or less flat, right? I think it opened the month at 44K, finished the month around 44K. I mean, it's not unusual. Bitcoin did have a huge run up from about 26,000 up to 44,000. So I don't know what they expected it to do, but it says the head of FX research has long held bullish expectations for the cryptocurrency. Lots of the news is extremely bullish now. Not surprised. They're even throwing a much higher number than what's in the title here. It says anticipates the price will reach 200,000 by the end of 2025. Who has time to wait for that? So long from now. All right. This is an interesting one. Very interesting one. So, all right. Where do I start? I have a friend who put money on Celsius. Celsius was a platform where you could earn a yield on your Bitcoin. Nexo was another one. There are a few of these platforms, centralized platforms. They custody your Bitcoin. I don't know what they do with it. They lend it out, whatever. You earn a yield, single digit yield, but on Bitcoin, that's pretty good up until recently, because usually your Bitcoin just sits there, right? Well, long story short, these platforms went into bankruptcy, Celsius being one of them. Everybody who had assets on the platform, the assets got frozen. There's a lot of uncertainty around whether or not they would get it back. So it says that Celsius is basically going to relaunch as a public company involved in Bitcoin mining. So my same friend who lost money on Celsius, I should say, it was locked up while it's going through this transition, the bankruptcy. They let him know that he's going to get a bunch of his Bitcoin back. And then whatever he doesn't get back, he's going to get in the form of stock with this new mining company that I guess was formerly Celsius. I was unable to ever use Celsius because I live in New York, and in New York, the state has its own regulations with crypto. And in order to deal in cryptocurrency, you need to obtain this special license. It's only a few, like 5-7 companies that have gone through the trouble. So I was never able to use Celsius. I was able to use Nexo. So I would imagine it's similar. And basically, you just give them your Bitcoin. You give them permission to custody it, lock it up. I think I was earning like 6% on my Bitcoin, which I thought was pretty good. And then I took away the approval for them to custody my Bitcoin. It went through some unlock period. I don't remember what it was. Maybe like maybe like 10 days or 30 days, whatever. But right around the time Russia invaded Ukraine, I was like, I don't like this. I want to custody my own Bitcoin. And I took it back. Ray Raspberry is asking, didn't Nexo flee the US? I remember getting a letter about New York where they were no longer doing business with New York, but it might have been shortly after they said they're no longer doing business with the United States in general, just because the regulations were unclear. There's too much, I guess, just too much uncertainty. I mean, there's risk there if you're a business, and you don't have clear regulatory guidance. You don't want to run afoul of the law if you're a legitimate company. So, I mean, I don't blame them. I don't blame any company for not wanting to deal in the US. And I'm in New York. It's especially difficult. It's hard just to get an LLC in New York. I'm going through the process now. The process actually takes weeks to do an LLC. It takes weeks. Got a couple more stories, and then we're going to go right into our VC inflows segment with Swiss. I see that he's in the chat. So Swiss, in the next like 5 minutes, if you want to jump in, I'll beam you in when we're ready. But I want to go to a story that I accidentally skipped last week. I accidentally skipped a story last week, and it has to do with Polygon. Polygon spent a ton of money during the bear market, it seems, just attracting NFT collections. They had a massive staff, and it turns out this not a great idea for them. They ended up scaling it back almost 20%. So, I mean, I have mixed feelings about this, and I'm trying not to give too much commentary on these news stories, but we have to address this, because what we see in crypto more often than not is really terrible business practices. You could look at this as an absolute tragedy. 19% of the staff, they lose their jobs, but it seems like Polygon was doing a restructuring because a lot of these jobs, they expanded too fast during the last bull market and were caught off guard by the bear market, and they're cutting back, they're streamlining. I think this is a net positive. Unfortunate for those individuals, but if they were actually adding value and they got released from their duties, they should be able to find another job in crypto if that's what they're looking for. So there's that. If it turns out they weren't really providing value, and it says here that there was this increased bureaucracy that Polygon wanted to eliminate, I mean, it's a good thing. If you're bullish on Polygon, you don't want to see them just wasting money on unnecessary salary. It says here, this increased bureaucracy diluted the agility and focus needed to pursue its ambitious goal. So, I mean, I buy that. I like to see teams adapting. My takeaway here is we probably should see restructuring in crypto a lot more often than we see in traditional business, just because the market's volatile. It changes on a dime. You have regulation, you have, you know, just issues that come up, especially in the United States. So I like to see these companies maneuvering. I think it's good overall for a project if they are doing this restructuring, often. I would say often is better. This was an interesting article, and of course we can't see it. There we go. So I'm a Cardano holder, been holding Cardano since 2017. It's got a big market cap, and the volume is up huge. But it says, but what's with the ADA price? Well, it says here, Cardano has experienced a substantial 54% surge in trading volumes over the last 24 hours. So this was last week, and all of a sudden volume just spiked. And it says this surge has driven the combined turnover for spot and derivatives almost 1 billion. Cardano's market cap is, between 15 and 20 billion. It's a large cap token. Yeah, it says here the 8th largest digital asset whenever this was out, last week sometime. But you could see the price action is, if you're a holder, this is like horrendous, right? You see, oh wow, 54% increase in volume. Like, well, what's going on? Cardano's not that cheap to transact on the actual chain. I don't know if there's some benefit to doing wash trading for a large cap token like this? Don't know. I started buying ADA when it was like 2.5 cents. I wrote it all the way up to like $3. I didn't start selling it till it was down like 50% from the top, but I still have a bunch. And I've been, you know, wondering if I should sell it because they are gonna have like a airdrop. Should I sell it? Should I move it all to a better DeFi platform, something newer that could really run micro cap, small cap, something like that? But then I read this today. And again, like I said before, almost all the news is bullish that I've seen the last couple days. Almost everything, except for the fraud and the theft and the exploits that we'll talk about later. But here, this article is interesting. If you want to read it, I'll link it down below. They're anticipating some kind of supply shock, and they're saying that a huge percentage of holders have just not moved their tokens for like 5 years. And I think this is interesting because Cardano is like an old token, like launched in like 2017. The blockchain didn't launch in 2017. They can launch in 2019, but they're saying that most people, not most people, but 23% of investors have held their assets through the rapid rise up to $3, the crash back to like what was like 25 cents, 20 cents. And this amounts to about 7 billion ADA. So it's like 20% of the market cap, 25% of the market cap. So I think that's something to watch. Last week we talked about unlocks. Watch the unlocks. If you're holding a token, especially a smaller market cap token that's kind of new, like it just launched in the last year or two, you have to pay attention to the unlocks. You also have to pay attention to these tokens that, might be out of circulation, right? We don't know. Like a lot of Bitcoin's out of circulation, doesn't move at all. We talked about that in the first live stream. A huge percentage of Bitcoin and ETH are just never moving. Maybe they're waiting for the right moment to sell, but you would think Bitcoin running up to almost 70K was a good time to sell. Nope, didn't move it. So Cardano looks like it's in that boat, and maybe all these older tokens, whether it be like, I don't know, Litecoin, Tron, all these older tokens, maybe a lot of the supply is just sitting in wallets and they're either forgotten or something happened to the people. They just can't get to their wallets, or they just have no intention of selling, or they forget that they have it. So something to watch. Watch unlocks, like vesting schedules. Watch out for possible supply squeezes because, Cardano probably doesn't have liquidity issue on all the centralized exchanges, but there still could be a supply squeeze. Speaking of supply squeeze, here's a brand new token that dropped, and then we'll get to our VC news. But if you're in the Cosmos ecosystem, we had a massive Celestia airdrop. Massive. I didn't get to it because of geo blocking. It sparked this renewed interest in Cosmos that was lacking. I think there was no enthusiasm, the summer months, especially leading into the fall. Boom, massive airdrop. Here's another one. You got this for staking Osmo token, Cosmos, Atom, and Celestia token. So the rumor that I'm seeing is that there will be more airdrops if you stake this. This is a brand new token. A bunch of it is only like 20% is in circulating supply. Of that, a big percentage of it is going to be staked as people anticipate more airdrops. There's been a little bit of a pullback, but this is something to watch. Almost $400 million was the value of the airdrop. Almost 400 million. I got mine. I'm keeping it liquid. I don't know what to do with it yet. I don't see a reason to stake. I don't think the staking yield is all that high, but we'll see. Maybe I will stake it. But yeah, it really ran out of the gate. Little pullback. Celestia kind of did the same thing, and I think that it's safe to hold some of these unknown tokens because there are vesting schedules, and a lot of it is off the is just not out of circulation, but unavailable to be traded, whether it's being locked up for staking or it hasn't even been put in circulation yet, or there are vesting schedules. Sorry I missed all this chat, guys, but Ambito, are you talking about ADA or are you talking about Dymension here? It's one of the cryptos I've been following the longest. It was the first chain I used on. He's probably talking about Cardano. I think me too. I think it was the first one I used on chain because they did have a self-custody wallet a long time ago, like in 2018. Then they completely overhauled the chain, and I think you had to migrate the tokens. Oh, Matic, he's talking about Matic. Not yeah, Matic. I've only used recently. Bought some NFTs last year. Yeah, I think probably. I mean, I've done some peer to peer, wallet to wallet transactions with Bitcoin, XLM, ETH, like long before there were smart contracts. There was nothing to do with your tokens. You're talking about Matic. All right. Well, we're gonna go to the VC inflows portion here. We've got some big news every week with just investment deals, money moving into the crypto space. We're gonna bring in Swiss, who's the resident expert, which I am not. And yeah, let's bring him in.
Hey.
Hey, what's up? Good to have you.
Good to be back. Thanks for bringing me back. I wasn't sure if I was going to get invited back after last week.
Oh yeah, last week it was. But yeah, you guys should watch last week. We just started arguing about sports. It had nothing to do with crypto, and then his mic cut out. No, last week was good. I think people need to know about these the venture capitalists. They get a bad rap for whatever reason, and I just don't see what people want. Do you not want investors coming into the space? Do you want a bunch of your holdings to be uninvestable? But we have a bunch of activity, and I know you highlighted 3 of these deals, but people should know you're part of crypto chemistry, right? Validator. You guys do some consulting, you do some content, right? You put out this Profit Pulse newsletter. I subscribe, and I get all my news sent to my inbox for the VC activity as it relates to crypto. Did I miss anything there?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We really try to cover Web3 deal flow so we can help founders get in touch with investors, help investors find products to invest in.
Cool.
And then we do the validator chain operations too. Then, of course, I'm working with Astrovault as well as head of
that's
BD
right.
there. So a lot of movement going on behind the scenes over at Astrovault. Really exciting stuff.
I'm going to have a video coming out very soon specifically on the AXV token. I don't do a lot of content on tokens, but this is one that I think Astrovault's a very different kind of DeFi protocol. The token to me is very interesting. So I'll have a video coming out about AXV end of this week, beginning of next week. Depends how clean the raw video is, I guess you could say. So
yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, I've been following this project for over a year, so now we've got we've got ignition, right? We've got a token, something to follow day to day. All right, why don't you take us through the first deal, and we can go right down the list here.
Yeah, sure. So we got 3 Nibiru, right. So this is the Cosmos SDK chain of the group. Thought we'd lead off with this one. So,
and how do I say this?
Around. Sorry.
How do you say this one?
Nibiru, I think.
Nibiru. Yeah, I'm gonna put it up on the screen. People can check it
Yeah.
out.
We actually ran a testnet validator on this one, but we didn't get selected to kind of continue into the genesis. There's a lot of blue chip investors behind this. So Kraken was involved in this round. They raised a lot of money before this group. I don't have the number offhand. They raised last year, I think, as well. But this was Kraken was involved, and then Tribe Capital actually incubated this project, and their team is really blue chip as well. Really respect those guys. And part of this, it wasn't clear to me based on the news, but a $12 million round, and I think 6 million of that was through CoinList. So it's, I think, coinciding this public sale piece with their upcoming mainnet launch. And it was really interesting to read, though. They're trying to bill it more as like a general purpose layer 1 now, whereas previously it was all about the perps, the perpetuals trading and the swap trading and their stable coins. So they do talk about those 3 things in their roadmap, but I was kind of surprised to see them branch out and broaden the scope so much, because we have so many general purpose chains that it just kind of I feel like it's a little bit exhausted at this point, but I guess I'm wrong. I mean, $12 million round, nothing to sneeze at.
No, definitely not. And I guess maybe the thinking is they were able to kind of watch these app chains kind of struggle through the bear market, and maybe they plan to make that perps platform the main app out of the gate, but then they're leaving it open, I guess, for other builders. Any indication if it's permissionless or permissioned?
I think it's going to be permissioned. I don't know. If I had to guess, that's what I would go with.
Got it. Okay. Well, 12 million, like you said, it's not nothing. You have Kraken involved in there, a couple other names, and it's a Cosmos SDK chain. So presumably maybe they'll lead with an airdrop and have IBC enabled right away. That would be pretty nice.
Yeah, they talked about a gamified airdrop. So I think what they're going to do is you go in, use the tool, and then you get point. I don't know if it's going to be a point system, but if it's gamified airdrop, suggests points, which are really big right now. And then I think the IBC and the bridging. So they have a picture of the roadmap in the link. You can view all these on our newsletter too, by the way. So cryptochemistry.io, you can get the newsletter there at the top. But the roadmap, it was interesting because the perps and the swap and the stablecoin are like at the end of the roadmap, which I thought they would have been leading with it, like you hinted at. And
Yeah.
it's just a little strange.
I feel like you'd want to launch with like some like feature app, because if you're gonna give
NFTs,
if you're gonna give
saying NFTs, so it's like it's a little bit strange. I just think that they've maybe pivoted a bit, but I'm not sure why. So
all right, well, we'll keep this one. Any idea when the actual mainnet launches, or is that not available now?
I think it's this year.
Okay, so sometime.
I'm not sure exactly. Yeah.
All right, what's up next? I see Omega.
So this is hitting on the Bitcoin theme.
Okay,
more
perfect.
Bitcoin native BTC on a DeFi platform. So this was a $6 million round with people like Wormhole, Blockchain.com, Side Door Ventures, and Kronos Ventures really spoke to me, but there were a couple others too. And yeah, this is all about utilizing layer one native Bitcoin to generate yield. There's really little information on their website, but this is just more of what we've been seeing. I mean, you've been talking about this for the past couple episodes.
Yeah.
A lot of BTC action, people trying to bring functionality there outside of the NFTs and DeFi stuff. So another one to be watching for sure.
Definitely. We're gonna talk right after this about just the DeFi primitives that are starting to pop up. It's not going to look the same on Bitcoin as it is on Ethereum, but I mean, you're giving people more options to park money that ordinarily, Bitcoin doesn't do anything, right? You just got to hold it, or you could trade. Now, a Bitcoin yield company, they raised 6 million. In your estimation, is that a significant amount of money? Are there multiple rounds, or is that just kind of like this is the smallest one we've looked at so far? That's why I'm asking, and I don't know.
Yeah. So that would be, to me, indicative of like a seed round. So if I'm assuming they haven't raised too much, I don't have the numbers, but I think that, that's kind of a smaller round for institutional types to come in and make an announcement out of it. If they were bigger, more funded previously, that's kind of like bridge round size where you don't usually see a lot of hype and buzz around it. But I think what's interesting with it, like, I don't know how you're going to convince Bitcoin holders to interact with like smart contracts. So I think,
oh no, yeah, it's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think if you are used to Ethereum or Solana or whatever, and you have Bitcoin, I think those will be the people that would kind of like YOLO and just whatever happens. Most Bitcoiners don't want to spend their Bitcoin that I talk to, even on inscriptions and stuff like that. They consider the Bitcoin to be precious. The maxis probably even more so, but we'll see. I just talked about Celsius locking up people's Bitcoin for like 2 years. Maybe that's going to help a platform like this if it's a little bit more decentralized, and there's, it's less likely to have kind of a catastrophic financial event with a bunch of Bitcoin on it. I don't know. I mean, I would take a hard look at everything on Bitcoin, but I would not want to be the first one to just jam my money in there.
Well, that's why with Wormhole being part of it, it makes it kind of interesting, because that means that they have an incentive to link it into all the bridges that they're doing, right? if they're putting their own money into it, then that's where I'm really wondering, like, how this will actually look. Because I know Babylon Chain's coming soon, Cosmos SDK,
Yeah.
to allow some yield out of it. And the real question I have is, like, what's it going to look like when it's the native Bitcoin on interacting with other chains, and how do they make that work?
Yeah.
It's like an engineering question, really.
I
And I
have a
haven't
rough
really,
idea of how
yeah.
Thorchain does it, but
Hmm.
I still don't know where those pools actually reside. Are they on Thorchain? They can't be, right? So it is going to look a lot different with Bitcoin, but um I mean, I guess we'll see. This is a trend to watch for the next 2 years, probably. Like we're probably not going to have um full-fledged DeFi with Bitcoin anytime soon, but we'll probably see a lot of little things like this with some experimentations that attract the attention of investors. So
Yeah,
we'll
well, we
see.
just talked about this last week. There was I don't remember, the name escapes me, but it's been hot. So this has been really, really hot to start the year. I don't think it's going to slow down anytime
I
soon.
don't
So a
think
lot of
so either.
competition, a
Yeah,
lot of competition.
yeah, I don't think so either. And I just had a space with an early Bitcoin developer on Friday, and they've got just protocol after protocol, new token standards on Bitcoin, plus the side chains and all that. So you're seeing DeFi. And 2 years ago, if you said there's going to be DeFi on Bitcoin, people would say no, it's impossible. It's not impossible, and you don't need a fork to have this. It looks like we already have
Mhm.
these. You have atomic swaps, plus you have Thorchain, you have wrapped assets, and you have bridged Bitcoin. But and I like I said, I think this is something to watch over the next like 1 to 2 years. I don't expect it in 6 months to be flawless, but in a year and a half, 2 years, I expect it to be really good. I have my hopes up in that regard. So we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt.
The last one's the big one. This was the feature inflow.
Yeah, yeah.
Ubit.
So $25 million for Obit, OOBIT. The reason, and it's funny with Embito's comment on, and not a lot of ton of original use cases, that was kind of the theme I felt like with this one, with this issue. It was just like more of the same. But this one was notable to me. First, it was one of the larger ones, $25 million Series A, and but Tether was involved.
Mhm.
Tether led, and then the Solana co-founder as well. So those two things really stuck out to me on this deal. They're doing crypto mobile payments, tap and pay. So we've seen a couple other teams doing this. There's
Yep.
quite a few where you could just tap your phone as if it was like Apple Pay or a credit card and paying from your wallet. So not like a brand new use case, but 25 million, part of it coming from Tether, part of it probably a smaller part from the Solana co-founder. That's really notable to me because that says that for people like that to look at a deal like this and come in, it's a bit of a signal. I don't put as much signal like weight on the signal as I used to, like after seeing what happened to FTX and whatnot. But it's still really notable. Like they're doing diligence. It suggests that, look, they are really focused on bringing actual users
Yeah,
into these
for sure.
ecosystems.
And Tether, I mean, I think people take it for granted. I think Tether's like 70% of all coins. And then Solana is trying everything, right? Solana is a real, almost like a proving grounds for DeFi, but also they want to be the place where the rubber meets the road, whether it be the phone, all these different token standards that allow for regulatory compliance. And now you have this crypto. Originally, I think when people first heard of crypto, they thought of, oh, it's going to be a new way to pay for stuff. We haven't really seen it take off, I don't think. I know there was like AMP, right? Like FlexiPay. That looked really cool because you could actually use
Mhm.
it with big real retailers. It was like Target, I think, and like Bed Bath and Beyond, Dunkin' Donuts. It never took off, right? At least not in the United States. I know that in the Middle East they have some other presence, but here, um, as if we don't have enough payments apps, but people will want to use crypto. I would.
Yeah, yeah. And this is, I think this one was headquartered in Singapore. So maybe a little more tech savvy on the cutting edge stuff, like the average retail person, because this is really trying to penetrate like traditional businesses. And I
Yeah,
just think like most of us don't want to spend it. Most of us are speculating, and there's
yeah.
tax things you have to always think about when you're swapping it. So, you know,
But
I'm not sure.
if Tether's involved,
Hmm.
I think that's
Hmm.
it makes sense. It makes sense. You know, you're eventually just going to be able to go anywhere and spend some stable coin, right? Whether it's USDC or Tether, you, there needs to be that the actual infrastructure, and then of course, if it's like, is it retail ready? Well, it probably has to look kind of like PayPal or Cash App, and then like you said, if it's just tap and go, Apple Pay. I mean, if there's a crypto version of that, I think people will use it. I don't think I don't think everybody who plays around with crypto will want to spend their crypto. Like to your point, people are yield farming, people are speculating, people are trading, but the real world utility, just to get it out there and kind of normalize it, it's just ultra bullish long term for the whole crypto space. It just people will it'll just be a normal kind of part of people's daily spending lives. It's already some people said they would never buy things on the internet. I would never put my credit card on the internet,
Yeah.
right? Listen, my grandmother uses Amazon, my grandmother uses Facebook, my grandmother uses an iPad. In 5 to 7 years, like it might be the norm. It might be just another option when you're checking out online, or like you said, just tap and go. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. So I just think to end off this segment, it's a team. They're onboarding real people. They have a real use case. Hence, you see this large round from these really big names. So I think that's what the market wants to see in terms of raising capital. That's probably not going to change, but the larger rounds will go to people who can do that, who can prove that they can bring on thousands, if not millions, of new people into the crypto space. So
Payments can do it. I mean, Solana sold thousands of phones to people that already have
exactly,
people already have phones, and
yeah,
they still sold them out. So there's that. Yeah, no, we'll keep on top of some of this stuff, and yeah, I'm sure we'll have two or three other big ones next week. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. Really appreciate it.
my pleasure. See you then.
All right, take it easy. All right, so that was Swiss from Crypto Chem, puts out that newsletter, Profit Pulse. I'll link it down below. I'll make sure it's one of the top links. You could sign up. I get a weekly letter into my inbox. That's how we connected to set this up for you guys. Hopefully it's useful info, but it is nice to see where the actual professional traders, um, professional investors are putting their money, taking on some risk. But I mean, so far the three that he gave us today, the three he gave us last week. I mean, you could see the ideas are just better this time around. There's just better ideas out there, and to me, there's just more investment opportunity. I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of months if we're talking about, you know, 40, 50, 60 million dollar raises as these VCs. They have to spend their money. They have to spend their money. And thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. This is something that this is a world that I don't know about, but I'm happy to be able to bring it to the audience here. So we're gonna get to Bitcoin in a sec. My favorite topic. The DeFi people. I know you're sick of hearing me talk about Bitcoin, but that's okay. Bitcoin is. I'll be the only one. I'll be the told you so channel. I told you Bitcoin was gonna have DeFi. I told you Bitcoin was gonna steal market cap from ETH and liquidity and stable coins. Ooh, we got some stable coins related to Bitcoin already. And let's bring that up. Let's bring that up. But in the meantime, nice to have people in the chat. And Beto, you're a regular. Really appreciate you coming on. Swiss, of course. Ray Raspberry, got a couple others in the chat. Nice to see you guys. Anybody else you want to check in the chat? Say hello. You could talk to. You could go on Twitter and watch this, but it's just not that. It's not that exciting. Be on Twitter. I don't even know where to start, man. This is like. To me, this is just amazing all around. But we're going to talk about DeFi on Bitcoin. And people in the chat, you can, there's no such thing as DeFi on Bitcoin. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, yes, there is. Let's get it set up. I don't need these anymore, do I? No. Bitcoin, DeFi. I've been talking about it since the Ordinals protocol went live about a year ago, and it finally hit me like, wow, the inscriptions allow there to be NFT-like tokens on Bitcoin. That means there could be DeFi one day. And I had a Twitter space on Friday with Eric. His Twitter handle is BRC20s, BRC20, BRC20 Eric. I think that's his handle. I'll link it down below. That space was amazing. The Bitcoin developer, he talked about all the different developments on Bitcoin that look like DeFi primitives, right? And I'm gonna zip through them, and I'll link everything down below so that you can look into it yourself. If you don't believe me, well, too bad. First of all, we had stacks before the inscriptions protocol, ordinals protocol, and inscriptions. We had stacks, staking involving Bitcoin. But now you hear layer twos, side chains. We have BRC20s, ARC20s, ARC20s, stamps, inscriptions. Now there are inscriptions on Doge, Solana, Cosmos. So I think what makes the biggest difference here is when you could have different tokens on a network, right? You have native assets on Bitcoin. Those are the BRC20s, the ARC20s. We had stamps, kind of like NFTs, not really. You had inscriptions, a little bit more like NFTs, but not really. And now we're going to look at what I consider to be, more than just the signs of DeFi coming. This is DeFi right now on Bitcoin. Let's bring it in. Here it is. So we're starting here on let me bring it up. We're starting here on an app called Liquidium. And this was brought to my attention like a week ago. This is lending. Right? BRC20 lending, ordinal inscription lending. This looks like it hasn't launched yet. You could earn a yield. Lending. Bitcoin frogs. If you haven't heard my sob story about Bitcoin frogs, I could have bought them for $30. I didn't. And now they're a couple $1,000, it looks like. Bitmaps. Bitmaps just launched recently. They went from like $15 to like 25,000 US dollars. Bitcoin puppets, never heard of. But look, I think I have one. I got to double check. I might have one. But man, oh man, Bitcoin banners, I think I have. No, I don't have one of those. But anyway, ordinal inscription lending. It's kind of like DeFi. It's exactly like DeFi. But that's the first one. Again, it's called Liquidium. You connect your wallet here, and looks like they use the Xverse wallet. I use Xverse on my phone. I don't know how it is as a browser extension. I use Leather, right? Because it gives you a Bitcoin address. It gives you an ordinals address, which is different than your Bitcoin address, and a stacks address. Xverse might be exactly the same thing, just a different wallet. But yeah, the one complaint I have so far about DeFi on Bitcoin, NFTs on Bitcoin, is that you can't use any wallet you want. The different platforms will prefer different wallets. That's the only real complaint that I have. But yeah, this is Liquidium. This is lending on Bitcoin. Here's Ordinals wallet. Ordinals wallet is a marketplace, right? It's a marketplace, and you could go in here. You could do your own inscriptions here. There's some data. It looks like you could trade Bitcoin. There's a dashboard for creators. There's your wallet and all that. I don't know what that is. That's not my address. So that's it. And they even have a Doge side of this as well. But BRC20 Ordi, these are inscriptions, and yeah, and you could buy BRC20s just like a DEX, kind of, but not really. It's not an AMM, but it is a marketplace. The way, as far as I can tell, these are fungible tokens, right? The BRC20s. The way you buy and sell them is a lot different than an AMM like Uniswap or Osmosis or whatever. What happens is, let's say I have, 10,000 ordi tokens. I put offers up on the market for let's say I want to sell 1,000 of my tokens. I put 1,000 tokens up for a price, and then someone can accept or just bypass my offer. It kind of is like when you list an NFT, someone has to buy the whole NFT. Here, I put like bundles of my tokens. They have to buy it in the increments that I set on the marketplace. But it's the beginning of a marketplace. It's a marketplace. It just doesn't look like an AMM. I shouldn't say it's a beginning of a marketplace. It's a marketplace. This is what it looks like now on Bitcoin. That's one of them. Uh, Magic Eden, we've looked at before. That's a marketplace for inscriptions. Here's one called Bionic with a Q instead of a C. And again, you're just, it looks like a marketplace, right? It looks, got a lot, got different collections, you got inscriptions. There you go, like pixelated cats. You just buy it. It's kind of like, it looks like an NFT marketplace. This is on Bitcoin. It's on Bitcoin. I think the art has a lot to be desired still with these inscriptions, but a lot of people are just inscribing whatever. This is pretty cool. Time chain collectibles. But there you go. And I just bought some inscriptions the other day on a website that was brand new, different marketplace. I wanted to make a video on that. I didn't include it in here, but there's options. There's options. There's competing marketplaces now. They're going to have to one up each other to attract volume. It's going to get good very fast, very fast. What do we got next? Here we go. Bitcoin's first ZK rollup. So now we have privacy. We have the privacy element showing up on Bitcoin, right? Citria. It's the first rollup that enhances the capabilities of Bitcoin with zero knowledge technology, making it possible to build everything on Bitcoin, right? And ZK rollups, these are when they kind of batch transactions, and then they don't put every detail of every transaction on the main chain. There's some privacy there, right? All the details of the transaction are not available. This is the fastest way to explain ZK rollups. The other way to explain ZK rollups is the analogy that you hear all the time. Let's say I want to go to a bar, and then the bouncer checks my ID. How can I prove that I'm 21 without giving him my ID, right? There has to be a way to do that to maintain some privacy. I don't want the bouncer to look at my address. I don't want him to look at my last name, right? So ZK rollups, they allow for that. They allow for the bundling of transactions to make it cheaper. They can help with scaling. And yeah, here we go. Citria, a ZK rollup, Bitcoin's first. ZK rollup. There will be many more. There will be many more. Let's go to the next one. Okay, here's Stacks. So this is liquid staking. So Stacks is a proof of stake network. You buy the Stacks token, you stake it, you earn in Bitcoin. I'm staking my Stacks. They call it stacking. Now they have liquid stacking because, if we're in proof of stake, we know the problem with staking. You stake your tokens, and, for at any given time, 60, 70% of all the tokens on an entire network, they could be staked. And then a bunch of the other ones could be stuck in liquidity pools. That means there's nothing to transact, right? So liquid staking unlocks that liquidity for a fee with a little bit of additional risk, and you could at least do stuff with the tokens while your original tokens are being staked, earning a yield. This is Stacks, right? And their liquid staking derivative, it's called ST Stacks, staked Stacks. So you stake your Stacks tokens, you earn a yield in Bitcoin, but they give you this liquid staking derivative. I mean, it means how all liquid staking works, for the most part. And again, this is using Bitcoin. And by the way, there are liquidity pools on Stacks. I don't have any up here on the stream, but we will look at those. We will look at those. I'll do a tutorial, something, because there's stuff to do on Bitcoin. There's stuff to actually do. Here we go. Layer 2 Labs. Layer 2 Labs is a really interesting one. I've listened to a couple of their spaces. So they envision a world where you have Bitcoin as this super secure, super valuable network. The Bitcoin token, right, obviously pays gas on that network. And they envision a bunch of side chains. They call them drive chains that do specific things, kind of like in Cosmos, how we have app chains. And I was listening to the space, and they said, look, we could set up these drive chains, like these side chains to Bitcoin. We could launch altcoins on them. What's the advantage of that? Well, first of all, you don't piss off the Bitcoin maxis or screw with the Bitcoin network itself. You do everything on these side chains, and Bitcoin is just there to secure it, right? So you could do some DeFi on these side chains. You don't have to mess with the Bitcoin chain itself. I think this would be appealing to a lot of the Bitcoin maxis. And here it says here, gives people what treats disagreements as opportunities for progress. And then you avoid these situations where hard forks are inevitable, right? Or you have these people that are fearing change. Like right now, a lot of people do not like inscriptions, right? They consider it spam. I understand that. But I think in Bitcoin's case, change is going to be good. It has to progress to kind of maximize all the other developments across DeFi and other chains. But being able to do it with Bitcoin, I think, is a huge advantage. What we're seeing right now is a move for Bitcoin mass adoption, right? So what's better than having mass adoption and all this increased functionality on the network? DeFi on Bitcoin. Couple more. Here's Atomic Finance, and this is basically a yield app, right? To actually earn return on your Bitcoin. We just heard in the last segment about the VC raise for Omega, $6 million to generate yield, to develop a protocol that generates yield with Bitcoin. Here we have another one. It looks like there's already a mobile app coming soon. But yeah, I'll take 7% APY on my Bitcoin. I obviously have to look at the risks, but my Bitcoin just sits there. It doesn't do much for me. And here we go. I mean, here's a timeline. And basically, they're going to be an alternative to what we just talked about with Celsius, right? Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi, Genesis getting sued big right now in the state of New York. But all of this money was locked up. It was unavailable, confiscated, whatever you want to call it, because it was a centralized platform. This looks to be a decentralized solution to earn yield on Bitcoin. And here's a great thread here, a great tweet. Dan Held, and what people have been asking, what projects are interesting in Bitcoin DeFi? Here are a few, and you got all these links here. And then other people replied with even more links. If you're interested in this at all, I'll link this down below. Got Rootstock, Money on Chain, all these other things. You can look through it. I did not look through all of it. Oh, Thorchain, one of my favorites. But that's it. That's my first ever coverage of actual DeFi, aside from inscriptions, of Bitcoin on my channel. And I will guarantee that I circle back to this and expand what I know about it to bring it to you as the audience. If you have anything that would be interesting for me to cover on the channel, you could shoot me a DM, you could, just drop it in the chat, and I'll definitely look into it. I spend a good amount of time just looking at Bitcoin. All right. Whew, that was a lot. Let's do some conversing with the chat here. I'll bring some music in, and I'll drop by every once in a while. Without what happens as DeFi is rolled out, some capacity. Man, oh man, is Ethereum going to bleed? Probably, but a lot of chains are going to bleed out, and then new chains are going to take that liquidity. The only difference here is going to be that Bitcoin and all of its side chains and protocols and new features will end up capturing some of that. We're going to go to trends. I want to leave you with some data. I want to talk about some illicit activity in the crypto space. Did you know that there's some scams In crypto, did you guys know that? People trying to steal your money, trying to do it anonymously over the internet. Got SIM swaps happening all the time. We got wallet hacks, exploits, all that. Man, it's a jungle out there. You got to be careful. Actually, what we'll do is I wanted to talk about trends in TVL, and that's not as exciting as talking about the exploits and the illicit criminal activity. So we'll talk about that. That's how we'll finish up. I think that's a good way to finish up. Well, let's see. That's what the TVL looks like right now. This is across all of DeFi. Got about 70 billion locked. It's liquidity pools, lending protocols, whatever. I actually don't know if this includes staking. I would imagine no. Stablecoins. Stablecoins market cap is about 136 billion. The very first live stream that I did back in November, we looked at the connection between stablecoin inflows and price, altcoin price specifically. And what happened before this like October, November run up in price was that the stablecoin inflows hit 2-year highs. What's significant about that means money's coming back from the UST DPEG. That was huge. There's like $50 billion in evaporated value. Yep, the UST DPEG was not fun. Not fun. But we're starting to see it come back. I thought it would take a really long time. Circle's done a good job offering, being more accessible, offering their stablecoin natively in different ecosystems. Cosmos has native USDC. And I just saw another big chain announce they're getting native USDC. Also, I don't remember which one it was, but it's significant. You need stablecoin. You need risk-off assets. Risk-off assets. Let's get to these crime trends. So I found this website. Maybe some of you know it. 2024 crypto crime trends. Illicit activity down as scamming and stolen funds fall. But ransomware and darknet markets see growth. Ooh, ransomware. All right. So this article goes on to say, how do I get rid of this? This article goes on to say that 2023 was just like a great recovery year for crypto. 2022 was a disaster as far as price goes. But then crypto assets rebounded, right? The end of 2022 was the bottom for Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin did a great recovery over about 10 months. And it continues to recover. I hit 50,000 today. But then the rest of the crypto market rebounded. Market activity growing. We see protocols launching left and right. Everything's so much better than it was 3-4 years ago. Many believe that crypto winter is ending. Yeah. I mean, I told you in the beginning of the stream, the top of the stream, 31.5 for me was the number. 31,500 for me was the number for Bitcoin. Once we got over that number, I was like, that's it. Just start firing stable coins at any token moving. And that's what I did. I'm very light stable coins right now. I'm ultra bullish. I don't play with leverage. But yeah, I'm not really a big holder of stable coins right now. But this is really interesting. Let's see if I can get it a little bigger without distorting the screen. No. The total cryptocurrency value received illicit addresses. I don't know how they measure this, but we're going to work with what we've got here. Obviously, 2018, there wasn't much DeFi going on. There's about 4.6 billion in cryptocurrency received by illicit addresses. Then it went up in 2019, down in 2020. And there's a key here. It's just saying scam. So it's like people from 2019 to 2020 whatever fit the category of scam decreased. That seemed to account for the drop in this illicit crypto movement. But then in 2021, it's just surges. we have this new category of illicit activity called sanctioned jurisdictions. So what is that? North Korea, Syria, what are those countries? A couple in Africa, right? But then that decreased a little bit in 2022. But what did surge in 2022 was this sanctioned entity. And also FTX creditor claims that were fraud. So look at that. The FTX situation just created opportunities for more theft. Bitcoin Punk here's dropping some info. It says Google Trends is without a doubt one of the best retail indicators. We are at 25% of the interest of 2021, but only 30% off the all-time highs. FOMO may not even begin. Yeah, I mean, we have institutional minded people, right? So retail might not even be back yet, right? Everything we've seen so far might be a function of this ETF news. And Bitcoin did run up right up until the ETF news, right? FOMO may not begin. I mean, institutions might FOMO this time around. That's what I'm hoping for. You know, I don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry to buy the top and then get burned and then complain for 2 years when the market corrects. But maybe we'll get some we'll get some institutions, maybe a nation state to FOMO in. Maybe one of El Salvador's neighbors will just buy the top for us and send it higher. It'd be great. And by the way, I've been ending my streams with these trends. I think this illicit activity is something to watch throughout 2024, 2025. I think so. Because what I think is when governments try to regulate this, it looks like they're going to do it in the most nonsensical way possible, especially in the United States. But they're going to look for scapegoats, right? And, you know, the illicit activity is going to be, the money laundering and terrorists and whatever. North Korea is stealing crypto. They're going to look for scapegoats. But what's good here is it looks like from 2022 to 2023, you see like a massive dip in illicit addresses acquiring crypto. And a big chunk of that looks like it's the FTX. I can't tell if this is FTX creditor claims or online pharmacy fraud. They're so close in color on the key, but it's one of those. It was one of those. So this is a pretty cool article, a really cool website. We'll consult this from time to time. But here, what could account for that spike from 2021 to 2022, it says much of that growth came from the identification of previously unknown, highly active addresses hosted by sanctioned services. So they're still fine-tuning this. So a lot of this data from year to year might not be comparing apples and oranges. But when did that ever stop? When did it ever stop, like the US Congress from making a law, right? If this goes up again in 2024, you know what they're going to say. Oh, there's a 38% increase in money laundering or whatever is that soundbite, right? It sounds good for them. Money laundering, I don't think people care about money laundering, but when they say terrorism, that's like the magic word, right? It's, whatever the group of the day is, it's worth checking out, keeping on top of this. What else we got? Here we go. I mentioned this fraud case. It's happening in New York, right? It says an initial lawsuit accusing crypto firm DCG, Digital Currency Group, of cheating people out of $1 billion has been amplified by investors coming forward with more losses, tripling that number. This is the New York Attorney General. This is the same Attorney General who was heavily involved in the Donald Trump tax, witch hunt, right? This is a very determined, motivated attorney general who actually I thought was going to end up being the governor of New York. And then something happened last minute where she decided not to run, not to throw her name in the hat. Something happened, but she was thought to be the favorite by many to become the governor of New York. But I guess she's going to continue making her name for herself, kind of tracking down these lost taxes or investor losses, right? Maybe she's lining herself up to become the next Gary Gensler, Janet Yellen. I mean, I don't know. But this company was accused of misleading investors by assuring them their money was safe. But that was not the case. They assured them. Well, one day, some of these crypto platforms, like maybe Coinbase or whoever, Kraken, maybe there's going to be a situation where or Gemini, right, where the funds are safe and they're guaranteed to be safe, kind of like an FDIC for crypto. Last one, a great website. Web3 is going just great. Sounds like it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but this website, I'll link it down below. Web3 is going great. Servers charged over hacks, reportedly including FTX. So SIM swapping, good Lord. I didn't know what SIM swapping was, but apparently somebody can get your phone without getting your phone. They take your phone number. They get some personal information about you. And they figure out a way to convince Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile that they are you and that you bought a new phone. You want to switch the number to that phone, something like that. And then they can get into all your accounts. We've seen this with Twitter. A bunch of Cosmos projects got their Twitters taken over. I don't think it went into like a financial crime category, but it was like a stolen identity. And these SIM swappers had some fun with the social media accounts of, it was Nomic, Shade, the sponsor of the show, and Jackal. When Jackal had a SIM swapper who was just, oh my God, guy was putting videos of himself doing drugs. And while this is happening, the Jackal price pump, but it's not funny. SIM swaps are not funny. You can go through this, right? Crypto exchange created by 3 Arrows Capital founders to shut down. So Open Exchange is shutting down. Who could believe this? Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. And then this is an interesting one. I never heard about this, but the Ripple CEO, apparently his personal wallets got hit for $112 million. How is that possible? How is that possible? I don't know. But it's happening. People are trying to steal your crypto. You can't let them, because the more fraud, the more scams, the more illicit activity, the more ammunition a lot of the politicians are going to have to blame and punish the honest person. Ambito's asking, do you think we will see a lot more mature mainstream marketing this go around? Yes, and I'm part of that. My channel's sponsored, and as part of that, I have to help with I don't know if it's marketing necessarily, but awareness and not pumping the token. Yeah, I would like to see marketing like tech teams, use case versus tokens. I imagine these big institutions will be paying for ads. Yeah, I think we're supposed to be seeing Google ads for ETFs. I haven't seen one yet. I'm sure we'll see them on Twitter, right? We'll see them on Twitter. We'll see them on YouTube. Eventually, when I turn my ads on my channel, which is going to be this month, we'll see more marketing. Yes, we will. I think we're already seeing it, right? We're seeing less emphasis placed on these like Twitter token shills. We're seeing more people that can properly articulate, like what a protocol is actually about without pumping the token. And we'll see more people with educational channels, because I think it's just a good area for content creation to get into. And then it's not that hard to move into marketing, right? I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable about Shade, pretty knowledgeable about Kinetics. Those are my 2 channel sponsors. So also I've done some one-off videos for the Archway Marketing DAO. And as an American, I just have to say, look, they're paying me to do this video. This is what the video is going to be about. And then I just show whatever they want me to show, right? Here's how to use this protocol. Here's what this protocol is about. As long as I don't have to pump tokens, I'm happy to do marketing that's in my wheelhouse. Bitcoin Punk. Thesis playing out. Bitcoin thesis is playing out. All successful experiments in crypto will get implemented on Bitcoin. Yes. I agree with that. You sound like me. Do we know each other? Do we know each other? But yeah, it's I think it's inevitable. Bitcoin is the king of the assets. People find it boring because it doesn't do fun stuff and it's hard to rug on Bitcoin. Don't worry, there'll be lots of opportunities to repeat a lot of what happened on Ethereum, Solana, and all the other chains. But the difference is the layer one itself will be way more secure, way more reliable, and way more recognized with institutions. So there's that. But yeah, happy to entertain anybody in the chat for the last couple of minutes. We went through quite a bit today. And I'm going to have to condense these shows even further because I'm losing my voice, as you can hear. But what did we do today? We talked about the ERC 404 standard. We talked about Bitcoin price predictions coming from analysts. Polygon laying off employees, streamlining their operations. All of this bullish, right? Lots of bullish news, absurdly bullish news the last week or two. Cardano, volume spikes out of nowhere, price is flat. What's going on with Cardano? Dymension, a $400 million airdrop. $400 million airdrop. Unbelievable. I got some of that. I'm holding it. I haven't sold one yet. I haven't staked. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm happy to get airdrops. I don't want to get all these points, do all this stupid testnet stuff to get airdrops. If you want me to use your platforms, give me. I don't need $1,000 airdrop. Just let me earn some tokens, by using your platform in real time. Don't give me points. That's me. A lot of people are farming these airdrops, but it's not good for the platform necessarily to get these airdrop hunters. Arbitrum. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. Arbitrum does not have good user retention at all. Seems great, but it's slacking behind other layer twos. And the airdrops just attract the wrong kind of people, kind of like the high APRs. Maybe that's the reason. Don't know. But we didn't talk about that today. We'll talk about that next time. But what we did talk about, deal flows, right? VCs, Nibiru Chain, Omega, Ubit. These are big raises for serious sounding protocols. And we talked about the trends, right? Illicit activity in crypto, that's a trend to watch. Last week, we talked about privacy, transparency, a couple of other things as well. And of course, we talked quite a bit about Bitcoin and DeFi coming to Bitcoin. I think it's here. It doesn't look the same as Ethereum, so it's a little tricky, but we have it. And I think I'll end there until next Monday. Next Monday, I'll make sure I have a full show for you. We'll condense it even further to get more in there. Really appreciate the sponsors, Shade Protocol and Kinetics Finance. I mean, they help me out. They make it possible. Happy to talk about their protocols, their platforms. And of course, Swiss, thanks again for coming on, dropping knowledge about what's going on in the VC world. Maybe there's some patterns to be picked up there, and we could find ourselves, picking a real gem out of some of these early deals, pre-mainnet launch, I should say, for these crypto protocols. But everyone have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Recovery from the Super Bowl. I'm still recovering. And next week. Yep. See you next week.